Hi there. Today I'm going to show you how I create Hindlestock, a small island village using Townscaper and DungeonFog. This first application here, Townscaper, is available via Steam. It's actually relatively cheap. I think I paid about $6 or $7 for it. It's also incredibly satisfying to build these little cities on the sea. Everything's done simply using your mouse. You just click around and small island pieces start to form together. These are beautifully rendered. You can see the cobblestone streets, little wall around the area you've built, and placing houses is also straightforward. On the left hand side you'll see a little set of colors. These are for different houses of different colors. If you keep the same color, you will just make the house larger. However, selecting a different color will create a new house. Rotation is also very simple. You simply hold down the mouse button and turn. If you don't move, it'll simply place a new piece. If there isn't an existing piece on water, it'll place first an island piece and then a house. In this way it's very simple to build all kinds of structures, and they look awesome. Right, so what we'll do now is we will start from scratch and we will build a much larger island, one that's going to be suitable for an adventuring party. Now you may choose not to have these as islands. Of course you could just say that this is the basis for a city or a village or a town, depending on the scale you're building out to. Or, as I'm doing, you can create an entire island setting where there are hundreds of islands all connected by different channels of commerce, interest, whatever it is. So Townscaper, as I said, is very simple to use. Simply using the mouse button, you can create everything. A right click places a new piece down, and a left click undoes an existing piece. By holding down the mouse button, you can just rotate the island. You can also adjust the angle. The animation here is actually at 5 times the normal speed. The one thing that is possibly a criticism of it is that it's quite slow to build. On the other hand, it's incredibly relaxing. So I think there's some things that it's actually worth taking a little bit longer, because you get a different sort of pleasure from it. You'll also notice that the build isn't on a standard grid. This is quite nice, as it makes you, I guess, appreciate the different aspects of really building, where you kind of have to build with what's available to you. So quite often you'll see little jagged edges, but also sometimes they'll be more rounded. So unlike most Steam games, this isn't really a game so much as a sandbox environment. So here we have our little island. Let's go ahead and build our first building. So as you enter the port, there's a tower. Now usually I'll select a color to indicate either authority or government, which is what I've done with the towers here initially. Then I'll select different colors and build in the houses. As I said before, if you use the same color, it will make the house larger. However, if you use different colors, it will make individual houses. In this way, you can just stack them around, create whatever it is you're looking for. Now you'll see when I close up this section on the left hand side here, something quite interesting will happen, and it's kind of key to telling the story on the island cities within Townscaper. So there you go. Once you close it up, you'll see suddenly a garden area is created, and by inserting houses in the middle, it adds an additional pattern or design. Now these all become part of your narrative. So now we've got the sealed in garden section. So in the way that I tell my story with my group, these cities built on the islands each have their own commerce based on what's grown. So some of them might have livestock, others might have crops, and it's the trade between the different islands that makes it interesting. So this island is broken into two parts. There's the garden part, or the crop part, depending on which one has your produce in there, and then there's the city proper. So I try and look for a bit of structure over here. Anything that's going to help with the narrative. Maybe need a bigger building, something that's going to be a specific site when your players are playing. You'll see I've also changed the entrance over here to the garden because I want those white buildings to belong to either the royalty or the lord, or possibly the baron who owns this island, or at least owns the area with the crop. And there we go, our island is built. Now building an island of this size will probably take about 30 minutes, but it's very enjoyable time spent. So let's go ahead and name our little settlement here Hindlestock. So whether it's part of a large island chain or individual or actually a city on the mainland, it is up to you. And then it's good to give it a bit of colour by calling out some of the key locations. So as you first approach the city, there's Theodore's Tower. So again, who is Theodore? Why is it his tower? There's the North Tour, Nor being north, Tour being tower. The East Tour, again east and tower. And each of these become story points themselves. The Guild House could be interesting from a plot point of view. What sort of strength does the guild have within the city? Who was the major? Why does he have a house? And so forth. Every good city needs its own tavern, so we have the Red Tide in there as well, and also the city warehouse. Being a port city, the warehouse is important for trade and commerce. And then within the garden area, I've said it's the Lord's Gate, the Great House where the Lord might live, and then Old Jess Manor. So again, who is Old Jess and how might they feature into your story? So these are some of the areas that you'd have, so less the actual features themselves, but rather the areas. So the main bay as you come in is Pie Bay over here. To the side is Langer's Walk. Again, what is the story behind this person? There's a couple of docks, the Grey Dock and the Rover's Dock, that face the ocean. And then there's also an inner dock. Number 6 there you'll see is the trade market. This is close to where the ships will be offloaded, so it becomes a natural place for people to trade. There's an inner bay which might be used for fishing or repairing of ships. Then there's the high market, so maybe your wealthier individuals go there to trade. It's near to the guild house. There's another bay on the other side. Think about why that would or wouldn't be used. And then there's two different fields, the clay field and the royal field. Now these could be family names or they could be types of produce. Again, you're just looking for hooks to make it interesting for your players and for your storytelling. So here's a couple of shots that you might be able to share with players to show them what the city looks like that they're approaching. And again, if you don't actually have the application downloaded yourself, you are more than welcome to use these if you go over to my Patreon. And there's a couple more different views of the city. So one that has a focus here on the fields. Another one which is closer to the Major's house in the northern part of the city. And then another aerial view that looks past the guild house. So for the rest of this tutorial, on our tutorial video, we're going to focus on building out the warehouse, the city warehouse. And to do that, we're going to use an application called DungeonFog. So I've been using that for a couple of years now. It's a lot of fun to use. They recently did a Kickstarter, DOS, which provided a whole lot of additional assets. So as you'll recall, the warehouse had a large arch in the middle, so what I'm doing over here is either side of the arch is the building proper. On the left hand side I've decided it's going to be the main warehouse entrance, large double door. On the right hand side it's split into two parts, another warehouse as well as an office area. And instead of putting large windows in there, I've opted to put in smaller slits, so it's good for lighting and air, but it's not so good if you want to be trying to steal from the warehouse. And of course every good warehouse needs items. And this is where DungeonFog is actually great. It has a really good selection of different items you can use. You can also rotate them and scale them according to your needs. So on the right hand side you'll see I'm building out the office now. Got a couple of chairs in there and a desk, so somebody who's been dealt with, a couple of chairs for anybody who's waiting. Because it's an office, it can also have a window, but then when I was placing the bookshelf I could see the window wouldn't make sense there, so I moved it across. Adding a few barrels. And on the left hand side you'll see there's actually a secure area within the warehouse. So I put a couple of chests in there already. I'll also add in a wine rack. And this is just an extra layer of protection, so if you're looking after people's goods and they want to pay a premium for any storage, again these all become plot devices. We've added a door so you can go from the office into the warehouse. Now this building has 3 levels, so we've got the ground floor, the first floor and the second floor. In the office we put a set of circular stairs, and now we're going to connect the 2 buildings, so this is effectively the top of the archway between the buildings. So when you're doing this, think about what you might use this area for. So in my setting, in my campaign, I've decided that a lot of people could actually stay at the warehouse. So downstairs was very much for storage of goods and wares, but upstairs people might actually stay, and these might be dock workers, which is why I've got these rather crude looking bunks available, and in some areas putting quite a few people in one room. But it also might be visiting dignitaries or merchants, which is where I put in these nicer looking beds. And because I'm a bit of a stickler for practicalities, each room gets a chamber pot, which you probably don't want too close to the beds themselves, not when you sleep in. Put a few carpets down, again to try and show which rooms are higher value. And extra furniture. So the 2 side bedrooms have got a chair in there at the moment. The room in the middle, I was thinking about creating either a study or a place for filing. There also needs to be a place for people to take their meals. So there's the study in the middle, and then just next to the study I created a kitchen area so people can prepare their meals there, and then maybe go into the top right hand corner to eat with larger groups, or if it's just a small group they might actually eat in the kitchen. I've added a few bookshelves here, and also thinking of practicalities, each room gets a lockable trunk, so if you are staying there and you want to pack and store your items while you're there, there's a practical way to do that. And again, for the bigger rooms you can add a little additional detail, so maybe different sized trunks or baths. And then lastly finishing off with some windows. course there's a third level, making sure you've got stairs that show going up as well as stairs that go back down into the ground floor. Okay, so I built the top level here myself. I didn't record it, but you'll see a take goes up from the stairs we said earlier. So the idea behind this top level is one, it would have great views, so you'd be able to have a premium for anybody using it. And in this case I thought it would be where merchants come to hash out trade deals or have heavier negotiations. So the bottom room there with all the opulent carpets and the seating means they can sit around there discussing whatever it is that's important, whatever exchange they're going to do, and then they could write it up in the room there. Then to the north there's a filing area where you might leave clerks to do more of the day-to-day filing, and then on the left hand side another secure room which might be for specific paperwork. So bottom to top, here we've got our ground floor storage area and the initial office that people will arrive at. Above that, a living area, whether it's for workers or for people of means that are willing to spend a bit more to have a better stay, and then the top floor, which is used for high value business. So it's as simple as that. We now have a island setting, we have one of the buildings built out, and we have a location to run our adventures. So hopefully you've enjoyed that. If there's anything that you like here, feel free to head over to my Patreon. You'll see the link below. You can also download the assets there if you want to use them within your own game. But thanks for joining us, and hope to see you again soon. Please subscribe and like for more videos in future.